All right. So, hello, I am Brad Dodds, and welcome to my senior capstone presentation on iOS development. So, as I began to start about my iOS development, I needed some inspiration. I didn't really know where to start, and Professor Kovalowitz always kept saying, "Find a problem and solve the problem." And it was like I don't really know what problem I have or like how I would solve a problem that I'm running into. So I was just thinking of everyday tasks and what I do and how I could change that. So I eventually thought of I think I was at the gym one day when I thought of it, but I was like, I'm keeping track of my my previous workouts, including like exercises and reps and weights, all in my notes app. So I was like, well, there's a problem, and it would be pretty cool if I could kind of fix that. So it is harder than it sounds, and I would say like half of it is really just getting mentally behind the project, because if you don't know what you're doing beforehand, then you're going to get messed up going into it, and I kind of ran into that myself. So where to go from here? So this flow chart is my first flow chart. It was in my thesis proposal of how I originally wanted the app to look. Basically pretty simple dashboard with the workouts, maybe some trending charts, some tabs on the bottom, and then you'd have your exercises for the workouts. You could enter your sets, reps, all that fun stuff, see your account information, and you could see your history of like previous weight and reps that you have entered. So where to go from here? I kind of had my plan, but I didn't really know where to start. I never done iOS development or mobile app development for that case, and I I didn't really know where to begin. I just watched a lot of YouTube videos. Eventually, got my basic Swift UI single page app going, and then I eventually could piece the rest together. So discussing backend. So for my frameworks, I used Google Cloud's Firestore. It's the non-relational collection storage offered by or Google's Firebase. And it was between that and the real-time database, as I've heard before, and I know Morgan and Noah have run into the same problem. But I didn't really know which would benefit me. I knew I was gonna have to be storing exercises, and then on those exercises be storing more information like what like weight and some specific user defined information. So I was thinking of going along the lines of the relational database or the non-collection data, the real-time database, because of its efficiency. But I eventually ran into some problems with that, and just creating the collection the Firestore collection met my purpose pretty well. So now that my data was being stored, I was thinking about my users and how my users were going to access their data and log into the app and everything. So I used the Firebase authentication, which was pretty simple, and I was able to keep track of my users and all of their auth info that way. And getting all of the Firebase like properties, like authentication in the database, we were using the CocoaPods SDK. So I never used the CocoaPods SDK before, and this was a pretty cool experience. It was kind of unique, and I learned kind of more of a general knowledge about how these things connect to each other. And with the CocoaPods SDK, I was able to get a calendar for that as well. So going into my front end, Swift UI was kind of a pain. It's very new, and I think it's still in some testing modes. So there are some problems that like are not fixable, and it took me weeks to find out that they were not fixable, and it was very stressful. So it was kind of a complicated learning process, especially with the new language. At least the language itself was kind of easy to catch on to, but there's not much documentation and there's not many people that are using Swift UI and Swift. So it was pretty hard to get that help. But as I progressed with Swift UI, I don't really it kind of grew on me a little bit. I got a little better with it and things started clicking and I was like, oh, that's how it works. Like, all right. So, I mean, towards the end of it, I was able to actually see my progress increase drastically, because of how familiar I was getting with the language and environment. And also another unique feature is Swift UI's combine framework. So the combine framework was taking subscribers and publishers, and it was able to keep track of like handling completions and live completion like updates. So that was nice when my users were creating workouts and they needed them to pop up right away, or something got added to the back end and it now needs to be refreshed for the user to use. So that was also really cool to learn. And I eventually was able to kind of piece all of those together and create my app that I will show you right now. Let's see. Oops. I believe this is how I play this. I want this center tab to be. What's going on? Hold on. Sorry, there's a thing in the way and I can't get to the buttons. All right. Are you still able to see this screen?
Yeah, we see a window that's titled Capstone. It appears to be an iMovie.
Okay. All right, perfect. The structure, kind of like a visual structure of. Why is this? I'm sorry, 1 second. So now for the demonstration portion of my app. As we launch the app, we can see that we have a nice login screen with sections for email and password. If we're a new user, we can simply click the new user button, enter email, password confirmation, and we will then be signed into the app. Sorry if the quality is bad. At least it's pretty bad on my end. Once we are into the app, we now can see our home landing view. When we get here, we have a couple options. We can scroll through the list of days, or we can go and create a new workout, or you can see our list of exercises we already have, or we can create a subscription. So now we can look at our home screen and we can go and create our new workout. As we click the create workout button, you can see that we have kind of a weird pop-up. We have some list of muscle groups on the top in which the user can scroll through. And we have a bunch of list cells. These list cells are selectable, so the user can then select them and pick their workout. So just create one real quick. Now that we've created the workout, we can see that we have to do it. So once we have a workout ready, we can click on an exercise, and we can go ahead and enter our desired reps and weight for each set. just add a couple sets. And we'll submit that. So now that that's submitted, we usually can see our previously recorded sets right here. However, in the last couple of days, right before I had to make this presentation, I was trying to figure out some things with the user ID and mapping that to the sets. So I ended up messing that up, but it should look like a little section bar with a date, and then you can have rows underneath that for the weight and the reps that you did for that exercise. So if we need some more information on the exercise, we can come here and see the title, image, description, and once we submit that, and retrospect, I would like this to check off, but that is okay. So go submit all of these guys. All right, and now we can see that our exercises do not really update actually, but I can show you that they are updating in the backend. All right. Now, if we had our squats exercise up here, we would be able to complete that and submit it, and we can see the document of the set pop up right away. However, our sets one isn't up here, so we can go ahead and make that one real quick. Now that we've added another workout, we now have an optional page scroll feature. And we can go scroll over to the second page and see our squats workout or exercise. So we'll say we did 6 reps with 300 pounds, 333 pounds. And we can submit that and see it get updated in our backend. Now, we're storing our sets in a sub-collection of our exercise document. So Firestore doesn't really let you query a sub-collection, and I didn't really find that out until pretty late in the project. But you can gather all of the sets, or you can gather all of a sub-collection through one of their document properties. So in this instance, we are just going to map the sorry. You can really map either the exercise ID or the user ID, but you can really only choose one of these. It is already getting stored in the sub-collection of our exercise document already. So it's pretty easy to get the document ID / exercise ID. So I went ahead and mapped those with the user, and then I can gather all of the sets for every exercise, but filter out the ones without that exercise ID, therefore leaving us with just these sets. So next, we are going to add an exercise. So as we scroll over our exercise list, we're able to see all of our backend data. And let's just navigate over to one. It's the same little exercise info view. And we have a nice little toolbar button up here. So when we hit that, it's going to bring us over to this form. And we are going to enter the name of our exercise. We will just call it test for now. We're going to enter sets, 5 sets, and we're going to enter reps. And we'll do 10 reps. Now we have a nice little drop-down button option for all of your muscle groups. Say that's a nice shoulder exercise. And we can go ahead and save that. See, you should scroll down, see it right here. This was another testing one. But that was easy. Also, it's easy to sort these. And that about wraps it up for those two. And now, instead of just a user puts in data, application gives user data kind of relationship, I want a user inputs preference, and database provides solutions for those preferences. So I created a subscriptions tab. And what the subscriptions are going to do is it's going to be like a workout regimen that you as a user subscribe to for X amount of time. So these are all based off sports for now, but I think in the future of the app, I want to do other things like working out goals, whether it be weight loss or mass gain or whatever the user would like. But for now, it's based off sports, and we can scroll through those sports and see why they have certain regimens and why they create their workouts in certain ways. So I want this center tab to be a structure, kind of like a visual structure of the workouts and how they're organized. And then in the muscles, I would like to see just highlighted muscles. So that is something to do in the near future as well. But when our user wants to subscribe to a workout regimen, they can go in here,
Brad,
baseball regimen,
Yep.
or
we're not seeing anything change on screen.
and we're gonna have.
Oh, you're not?
Oh, now suddenly I do.
Let's see. Let me try to.
Yeah, so for most of the discussion, the screen was still.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not realize that. Let's see.
So it sort of stopped updating when you went back to the app.
Okay. Are you guys able to see this now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. How long ago? You said when I got back to the app?
Yes, when you went back to the app, right. You were showing us the Google Fire thing updating, and then you went back to the app.
Oh, for the sets? All right.
Now we have a nice little drop-down button option for all of your.
Yeah, that's good. Let it.
Same little exercise info view. And we have a nice little toolbar button up here. So when we hit that, it's going to bring us over to this form. And we are going to enter the name of our exercise. We will just call it test for now. We're going to enter sets, 5 sets, and we're going to enter reps. And 10 reps. Now we have a nice little drop-down button option for all of your muscle groups. Say that's a nice shoulder exercise. And we can go ahead and save that. See, you should scroll down, see it right here. This was another testing one. But that was easy. Also, it's easy to sort these. And that about wraps it up for those two. And now, instead of just a user puts in data, application gives user data kind of relationship, I want a user inputs preference, and database provides solutions for those preferences. So I created a subscriptions tab. And what the subscriptions are going to do is it's going to be like a workout regimen that you as a user subscribe to for X amount of time. So these are all based off sports for now, but I think in the future of the app, I want to do other things like working out goals, whether it be weight loss or mass gain or whatever the
user would like. But for now, it's based off sports, and we can scroll through those sports and see why they have certain regiments and why they create their workouts in certain ways. So I want this center tab to be a structure, kind of like a visual structure of the workouts and how they're organized. And then in the muscles, I would like to see just highlighted muscles. So that is something to do in the near future as well. But when our user wants to subscribe to a workout regimen, they can go in here. We'll say a baseball regiment for, let's make it 4 weeks. And we're gonna have, okay, well, we're gonna have 4 workouts per week for 4 weeks. So essentially 16 exercises for baseball. Well, that's crazy. All right, so here are our 16 exercises. Now, those are some pretty big workouts with a lot of exercises. So I'm gonna have to go through and see what exactly happened on there. However, you can see your progress with the little circle, and you can also delete a regimen. So let's just resubscribe one for a little shorter time. Let's do track for 2 workouts a week for 1 week. So if we have 2 workouts, I have it scheduled for workouts to be created on Tuesday, Thursday, and 3 is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 4 workouts is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe. So in the future, I would like my user to be able to select the days of the week that they would like, and then eventually subscribe to that. And I did have to restart the app, but we can now see our track exercise. That's more if we want, doesn't really matter. We'll just stack on top of each other. And they also will show you their next workout date, as well as their whole list of workouts and how many you have remaining. So once those get added, they will then stack on top of the other workouts you make. And once you're done with those, you can just hit the little finish button and complete those, and it'll delete your regiment, or it'll delete your workout ones that you created from your backend, and it'll mark your regiment workouts as completed up for those dates. You can also see that they are scheduled for the future. Scroll through. Guess they're pretty short workouts. So 22nd and 27th, and probably the same thing. So let's at least make sure the 27th is there. All right, perfect. So we can also see that our application will create different workouts based on the regiment type that they choose. So that's about it. Pretty handy app. I wanted to implement the calendar and some sort of notifications for the days that you have workouts and have those show up here, but that is a future desire now. And of course, it does support dark mode. I actually built the app in dark mode, so I do like how it looks pretty much. And all right, let's get back to the PowerPoint.
Okay, so I apologize if that was kind of glitchy. Can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, one thing I didn't really mention in the video that I meant to as much was how each like regiment is really different. So like I tried to choose 5 sports that were very different from each other. So obviously the workouts for a track runner and a wrestler are going to be different. And same kind of thing with swimmers, and they all target different muscle groups, and they all have different like intensity levels. So when the user creates their regiment, it'll automatically create the workouts for that regiment, and it'll give them like it'll add more of a certain muscle group or just more in general for different regiments. So now looking back on my journey, there were many struggles. One of them happened to be this MVVM architecture that I got newly introduced to, which stands for model, view model, and view. And it's basically how you get your data from the back end to the front end and how they kind of bind and relate between each other. So I feel like that was very useful to learn, and it was pretty fun learning as well once I got past the fear part. But I was eventually able to overcome that as well as the rest of my project, and I was actually very happy with how it turned out. I do plan on actually using this app because I was just keeping track of my workouts in the Notes app. So this will be a little better for that. I also have some friends that are pretty interested in getting on it too. So they mentioned it would be pretty cool if we could have IDs, be friends with each other, and then have a feed and just see what everyone's working out and what they're lifting and stuff. So I learned a lot about this. I learned a lot about myself as a developer. I kind of liked the front end part more, which was surprising because I feel like up until this point I've always liked the back end stuff more. But I think the front end and watching it actually develop and me create the app the way I wanted it to be created was pretty cool. So I do plan on continuing to work on this in the future, and I do apologize. It was kind of glitchy with some repeat exercises and stuff because I was working on it up until like today and this point, and I messed something up with the sets and like keeping track of those. But I'll fix that in the next update, next version that gets put out. And I also want the users to get like maybe a row of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they can kind of click on the boxes that they want their workouts to be on for those days. And like I said, adding some more workout regimens for different goals. Maybe someone wants to do a running regimen. And then I also wanted to implement, I know in the thesis proposal, this was one of my proposals. It's kind of a long shot, but it was a 3D like model of the body, and then you could click on certain parts of the model and like spin it around, and then it'll say like we have 7 workouts for the calf or whatever. And I think that would be pretty cool to implement as well. So thank you for attending my capstone. I had a great time kind of learning throughout this. It was a great learning experience. And as COVID hit, I wasn't really doing much anyways. So I just was at home planning, and I had a great year here at Carthage, and I wanted to thank all of the people in the computer science department, including the professors and the other students that I have been with the past 4 years. It was a little crazy, but we ended strong, and thank you.
Awesome. Who's got questions for Brad?
Hi, Brad, I have a question. So how would you describe the difference between like writing queries for maybe a local SQL database versus writing queries or manipulating data that's in the cloud in this NoSQL format?
Yeah, that you might have hit the nail right on the head with that one. That was probably the worst part of like Swift UI and Firestore. It was pretty confusing to have to deal with not so much as properties, but like mapping elements from objects to others to create my new object. and the queries did not provide satisfactory enough, or not the queries, but the documentation for the queries. I just couldn't find enough documentation to like get the correct document with the document ID, even if I was doing the same code as some other person online.
Yeah,
But
so I wonder if like in SQL, you expect the SQL engine to basically do 100% of the work. I'm wondering if in these NoSQL databases, maybe you're supposed to pull more data in to the device and then filter it yourself. Is that correct, or is that not?
I think I understand. Like, so instead of having a lot of data in the back end, more of it would be coming from the front end.
Right. So the filtering maybe happens by grabbing more data from the back end to the front end and then manipulating it in that front end.
Yeah. I don't really know if I understand the question. Did I enjoy how I worked with Firebase and like their queries compared to like when I just can manually input them?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of the difference between the SQL and the NoSQL. SQL is great because you literally just say what you want and it figures out how to get it.
Yeah, I would
These
say
NoSQL databases, they're a little trickier because they're just not as powerful.
yeah, definitely. The SQL would have been easier because I could just manually or concretely say the query that I would want it to perform and the field attributes, I guess, that it would have. Whereas I would be working with like Firebase document reference or query document snapshot or just document snapshot or like, and just getting certain elements from those was challenging.
Yeah, sounds like you're not alone. So that's an interesting thing that maybe one of us CS professors can tackle.
That'd be cool.
Okay, other questions for Brad?
Does your app have a name?
I knew I was going to ask that. I've been calling it My Fitness app, but it's not very applicable. I don't know. I kind of like Regiment. I think that's kind of unique.
Okay, so good work, Brad.
Thank you.